Hey there, I'm Steve, and welcome to Jamson Entertainment. And welcome to the conversation. Just before we get started, there are many ways you can help. You can like and subscribe so you never miss a conversation. But most importantly, please share this video. Get the word out there's a community we can talk about all the things that we love. I recently just saw 65, starring Adam Driver, Ariana Greenblatt, Chloe Coleman, Nika King, and Brian Dare. So before this movie came out, a lot of people described it as, and I agree, that this is a mix of Planet of the Apes and Jurassic Park, and kinda. It's Planet of the Apes because people venture out in a spacecraft and crash land on an alien world. It's Jurassic Park because there's dinosaurs. The reason why it's only kinda is they're not Earthling, not even necessarily human. The movie opens up with text explaining that there was a civilization in our galaxy long before the human race called Someris, and they explored the galaxy and populated different areas. Adam Driver's character, Mills, is such a character. He ferries people across the galaxy. He's a pilot and he's security. He's introduced by spending a day at the beach with his family. Him and his wife are talking about his next mission, which will be ferrying a dozen or so people from Someris to an unknown world. His daughter is sick, and he's only taking this job so he can get paid more money so he can afford the medical treatment his daughter needs. His daughter knows he's going away, and she says, "It's because of me, isn't it?" And he corrects her saying, "Not because of you, for you." And what makes it difficult on this family is he'll be gone for 2 years on this expedition. On his travel, he enters a asteroid belt, and the ship gets damaged, and they crash land on Earth. The reason why it's called 65 because this is supposed to be 65 million years ago, the time of the dinosaurs. He at first believes he's the only survivor. Then he finds Koa. Now in the trailer, it shows you both of them surviving Earth, which is inhabited by dinosaurs. But what makes it interesting, this is something you don't typically see in sci-fi that's not attached to a franchise. Koa does not speak Basic. I'm going to call it Basic because it's not English. Adam Driver speaks English for the audience's sake, even though they could have come up with two completely different languages and just subtitled the movie, which would have been interesting. Koa speaks a completely different language. I can't remember the two made-up languages he rattles off to figure out what she speaks, but there's a language barrier there. And they start out with simple communication of how they're going to survive this. At first, he lies to her because her parents were also on this expedition to a new planet, but they die in the crash. She doesn't know that yet, and because she doesn't speak Basic, he uses simple words and he draws out the basic plan, and to have her come along, he says that her family is at the top of this mountain. That's where it's not exactly an escape pod. I guess it's a shuttle. It's like a mix between an escape pod and a shuttle because this thing can leave orbit and take them to the ship that will pick them up and take them to their destination. So it's interesting watching them communicate. She does learn some Basic where it becomes a little easier to communicate. Unfortunately, the characters aren't compelling enough for you to really care about them. You are given very basic information, and I've already gave it to you. What would have made this movie more interesting? We're going to go back to the day where him and his family are on the beach. So while he's having the conversation with his wife about his mission, his daughter is at the edge of the shore trying to do a specific whistle, and it's, see if I can get this. Trying to do that. This does get utilized later in the movie. It should be utilized more than it was. But what would have made more sense, because this is a survival movie, if his daughter was fishing, so I guess take them off the beach and have them on like their own boat, but big enough where she's on the edge of the boat and she can't hear what her parents are talking about necessarily. And if they did that, Mills could have been doing a whole lot more instead of just using tiny grenades and his rifle. That's all the surviving in here. Well, okay, there's also this device that can scan food to see if it's good to eat or not, and it can also filter water so it's drinkable. But if he had a skill, even if it was just fishing, to show that he can survive and make it a little more difficult because he has a lot of technology to help him get through this. There's a device he sets up, well, devices. He makes a small perimeter around him and Koa, and it allows them to go to sleep, and this will detect any dangers that approach them. It just works like a regular proximity alarm. He never once makes fire. They don't show him hunting. They're just living off rations and a device that will purify water for them. It's kind of like going through a video game on God mode. There is a ton of plot armor written around these two, so any tension is just sucked out because of that. Yeah, they get into their mishaps, but it really doesn't knock them back at all. It inconveniences them for that scene, and then they just keep moving on with no real issues. Two instances, when they crash, a piece of debris gets stabbed into his left side. He removes it, he cauterizes it with nitrogen, I believe, or some kind of freezing element. That doesn't fester or anything. It doesn't slow him down. There's another part where he climbs a tree and he falls out of it and he dislocates his shoulder, and they get attacked by dinosaurs I'm not familiar with. I'll see if I can find out what they are. He gets his shoulder popped back in, and he's able to pick up his rifle and shoot the dinosaurs. There's no real tension there. I will say this, they got something right that Jurassic Park did, and that's the Velociraptor. I swear they put the Velociraptor in there because of Jurassic Park, but they were probably like, you know what? We're going to get them right. Velociraptors are actually small. They're like the size of an actual turkey, not just the 6-foot turkey that's joked about in the first Jurassic Park movie. The only way I can really recommend this movie is if you catch it on streaming. It's not really worth going out and watching it. Those are my thoughts on 65. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and live your imagination.